Welcome back to the Pod of Greed.
Yeah, that's right. Another week. We've got a bevy of Yu-Gi-Oh news, actually, from this past week, I would say.
There is plenty.
Yeah, a lot of different announcements, a lot of different things. But first, got to start off with a review. This comes to us, once again, from Apple Podcasts. From Baby Moss 16. They left this just on Saturday. They said,
Moss.
"This podcast is everything I've been looking for. I watch Team APS and I've always loved their content, but I've always wanted more. Then this podcast came along. I love hearing their opinions, and it's like talking to friends about a game we all know and love." And they left 5 stars. So
that might be my favorite review yet.
Yeah,
Not comparing all you guys, just Baby Moss kind of set the bar there.
Yeah, so I appreciate it. Of course, if you guys don't mind, if you're listening to the podcast on any particular platform where you can rate it, we'll always appreciate a 5-star review or maybe a 1-star review, but, don't do that. Just think carefully about it. Just don't leave a review at all,
But if it's a 1-star review, but you say nice things, then...
Yeah, so, oh man. Where to start with the Yu-Gi-Oh?
I'm pretty sure there's news across the entire Yu-Gi-Oh spectrum, so I guess we should start with the TCG.
Okay, so as for stuff that's already come out, there's Maze of Millenia. It's finally released, so this will hopefully be the last week that we're talking about this set, because it's...
the set that set Yu-Gi-Oh on fire.
Yeah, it's been a stir. So the set's out. There's, Bonfire's out now completely. Its price has gone down.
But it's still kind of high.
Yeah, it's jumping between like, $70, $80. So that's been a thing. It seems like from the boxes that I have seen, it's not short printed or anything. So most people, most people are like pulling it.
Though I've only seen one thrust, and I've seen at least 7 bonfires. Yeah,
it sounds like Thrust is the more short printed card, and that might be like.
I mean, it's anecdotal.
Yeah, like who knows? It depends kind of on who you are.
Massive pullers tell us.
Yeah, but I think that actually bodes pretty well because it means like Bonfire is not like that sort of card. Like you can pull copies of it reasonably out of like a box or two.
Though I'm not. And this is another situation where I can't really suggest buying sealed product because while yes, Bonfire has decent pull rates, some of the ultra rares in that set are doo-doo.
Yeah, I have a few complaints about the ultras in the set. I mean, it is a sort of, it's like a reprint set, so there's like some new cards and then there's some old cards, but the biggest complaint I have about that set is legitimately just putting cards like Ancient Chant as ultra rares.
Even new cards like Burst Draw. Yeah. Horrible ultra rares.
Burst Destiny?
Was it Burst Destiny?
It's something.
It's a Cyburst draw spell.
Yeah, the one with Yusaku on it. Yeah, that one seemed to show up a little bit more than I would have liked in the boxes we opened. In a set that has
triple Tactics Thrust in it, why am I seeing like 5 and 6 Ancient Chants that...
I think the main problem I have with that is just that like cards like Ancient Chant, I mean they were ultra to begin with, so I don't really know why in this ultra or in this like reprint set it's also ultra. I don't think that there's really...
Because I mean it was in Rage of Ra, and nobody really wanted to pull that set.
Yeah. And like the thing is, Ancient Chant did have a bit of a price, so it makes sense for it to be reprinted here. I just don't really know why they made it like ultra. Like if it's going to be a reprint, just make it like a super or even a rare. But honestly, like a super would have been fine. It could still feel like somewhat special.
And I don't know who made the call on that Cyber spell. Nah, that wasn't it.
Yeah, I mean it's an anime card, so I know that they feel like that sort of thing has to get ultra rare treatment, but like.
It's just so horrible.
It's not really a very good card. I don't really want to pull it. Also, something else that I kind of noticed about this set is like, it's really, Bonfire and like Transaction Rollback are definitely like the conversation pieces about this set, but there actually like aren't any others. Yeah. Like, it doesn't seem like any of the cards in it are really like, I haven't heard anyone like playing Kaido Terra. Or like Earthbound.
Well, Kaido Terra is actually a big Dino staple going forward.
Okay.
just because it enables them to search Poly and get the Hornsaurus out, who just searches field spells kind of on demand and gives you additional normal summons of dinos. It actually is it's actually a pretty solid dino piece.
Oh, okay, yeah. I just hadn't really heard anybody talking about like the decks from the set, so that kind of felt.
I mean, it's not making dinos like relevant again, but
Yeah.
it's a solid piece.
Yeah, there's also like Flame Swordsman. You know, some of its like collector's rares look really nice, so that's been kind of cool. I think it was neat to have a collector's rare set, and I'll give them credit on one other thing about Maze of Millenia. They seem to have increased the pull rates for ultras in a box compared to previous collector's rare sets. So those would typically have like 3 ultras on average, like in a Valiant Smashers or in a Wild Survivors. But in this case, we, I think, pulled 4 ultras on average per box. So that was, pretty consistently. So I think that they have at least slightly increased that. And if so, good on you, Konami. I mean, you know.
It's just pain when your 4 ultras are Ancient Chant, Burst, Destiny, the Photon card.
Yeah, those are not not as exciting. I think that, I just feel like certain cards that. Well, I guess it's subjective. Like, everyone's going to kind of have like a different set of cards they would like to be ultra rare. So maybe...
Hop in the comments and let us know if Burst Destiny was your pick.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was like rushing to pull that. I don't, think that if you pull those in your box that you're particularly happy.
I mean, they were better. Compared to some of our ultras, they were better supers.
Yeah, another thing about the set, too, is actually that Transaction Rollback has a couple of controversial rulings that I have seen some people make videos about. Yeah, so Transaction Rollback, it's kind of a confusing card because it, like, copies a trap card's effect from the graveyard, but right now, apparently, the big ruling that we don't have an answer yet to, at least that I've heard, or not that I've heard, is Eradicator Epidemic Virus.
Yeah, okay, I heard that,
among a couple other cards, too. But, like, because if you copy Eradicator Epidemic Virus's effect, the text reads, like, that it lasts for 3 turns after activation, like, after this card's activation.
Oh.
And, Transaction Rollback is not actually, it doesn't, like, activate, the card. It's just applying its effect. And so in the OCG, I believe that they are able to do it, but their cards worded a little bit differently, like their copy of Eradicator Epidemic Virus. So, we just will have to wait probably until the first major YCS before a head judge makes that ruling, and
That's a painful ruling to go not your way.
I think it actually reminds me a little bit too of why I don't care that much for Yu-Gi-Oh's TCG ruling system, because I mean right now Konami could just say it. They could just release a press release,
official ruling.
But instead they're kind of doing this strange thing where even though it's their game that they publish, they're going to leave it kind of just up to what the first head judge at the first big YCS says, and I guess that'll set something of a precedent.
But not really, because we already know that then the next head judge, the next large YCS, can just overrule that.
Yeah, so I stuff like that has always really, really confused me.
But I will go on record in saying that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Judge program is still one of the most solid judge programs in TCG.
It's better than some other games. I've seen how some other games judge programs and stuff go, and it's sad because I think that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Judges themselves are fine. Obviously, they're doing a really hard job. I just think that the system that Konami's got in place for ruling precedents is weird because it's it kind of they shrug off a lot of the responsibility of saying whether or not a card works a certain way. And I guess maybe their idea in doing that is they don't want to undermine judges, where if a judge says something wrong, they don't want you to, I guess, be able to tell them that they're wrong by pulling up a Konami official ruling.
It's like when the police pull you over and you start trying to tell them the law. It's you're just increasing your chances of something poor happening. So
I think Konami's trying to avoid that, but I do think that it's a little weird. Just you could just release a ruling, and they've done it in the past. They've done a few little articles where they'll just clarify something that's been extremely, extremely controversial. So but that's pretty much it on Maze of Millenia. I don't think there's much else to say.
Get your bonfires and transaction rollbacks now. Before this goes out of print, and then it's good luck.
Yeah, although it might just sit at your card shop for a while. I wouldn't be surprised. sets like this, you never know what will happen with them. Like Maze of Memories was at our shop for months and months.
But Maze of Memories didn't have a bonfire.
It did have Barone.
Oh, never mind.
And that was
That's just a
arguably
reprint.
more like wanted. So, okay, another thing that was announced recently was Rarity Collection 2.
That's a surprise.
So that like popped up out of nowhere just a few days ago. What do you think about this? This is going to be releasing in May.
It's a sign that all the positive buzz around Rarity Collection was not lost on Konami. So in case you're wondering if Konami hears or notices things, this should be your example that yes, they do, because there is no Rarity Collection 2 in the OCG. They have other
Yeah.
sets, but they only did one Rarity Collection.
I
We're
should
getting
probably-
a second in a short amount of time.
I should actually probably read the product blurb.
Oh yeah, go for it.
So they say last year's 25th anniversary Rarity Collection. Ugh, I completely botched that. Blew everyone's socks off. So we started work on a sequel right away. Yeah, right. In order to get it out as fast as we can, we've made some changes to the configuration while leaving all the good stuff and value intact. So Rarity Collection 2 packs have twice as many Ultra and Secret Rares per pack, which gives you twice as many chances at Luxury Rares per pack, like Quarter Century Secret Rares, Prismatic Style Ultimate and Collector's Rares, and Platinum Rares. We've cut back on the packaging, so there will be fewer packs that you'll need to open and fewer wrappers to throw away, to still get the same number of cards that you're looking for. And with double the cards per pack, about 2/3 of packs should have at least one luxury rare this time around, and around a third should have more than one. You could even get up to 6 luxury rares in the same pack, theoretically at least.
Wait a minute. Okay, I gotta pause you there.
Okay.
So this is actually breaking Konami precedents to, especially in a product description, to kind of set an expectation for pull rates.
Yeah, they've
new.
done that a little in the past. This is the first time they've been, I guess, as like straightforward about it, but I think I know why. Because I know what you're saying is like it's weird for them to like sort of say like how much you could, what are the chances of like pulling,
And then
certain
to like
rarities.
specifically call these upper rares luxury rares, the wording here sounds so non-Konami. Luxury rare, value.
Okay. There's a couple of interesting words here actually. So the first one is that they say like, in order to get it out as fast as we can, we've made some changes to the configuration while leaving all the good stuff and value intact. Now some people have read that word and value to mean like they're acknowledging the secondary market. I don't think
No,
they
I
are.
don't think they are.
I think that they're using that word to like just in terms of, cards per dollar like that you're buying. So they're not talking about like the card's secondary value. They're just talking about like literally
I
net
thought,
amount per like dollar
It
spent.
was value insofar as like, you know how when opening up Rarity Collection, stocking up on Ashes, it feels pretty good because there's value in that card even though it's been reprinted before.
Yeah, or they could mean it like that.
Yeah, that type of value. That's what I
Now,
read.
they have used the word luxury rares before. Actually, they used it for Rarity Collection 1, which it was like in the product description. I don't know if anyone else really saw that because I've heard some other people talking about how like they haven't heard them call them luxury rares, but they did call them that. Those are the like special ones, the Quarter Centuries, the Prismatic, Ulti, and Collectors, and then the Platinum rares. Cutting back on packaging sounds nice.
Yeah. Especially if it's keeping the same amount of cards just with fewer packs, that just makes sense.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting. So I guess like a single pack, the price of a single pack is going to be a little bit higher. It's $9.99 per pack, and you get 9 cards per pack. Which I think before, I don't know exactly what the price was before.
I'm not ready to do that kind of math.
The long story short, Rarity Collection 2 is apparently better value. So
Though I will say, following up Rarity Collection 1 so close to its release will be difficult.
Yeah,
Rarity
that's the
Collection
main
1's
thing.
quote unquote value was that there were a lot of just really solid staple cards that would go in people's main decks, their side decks, their extra. There's lots of useful reprinted cards, but I'm not sure what all gets reprinted into.
well, they've given us at least a few to get our feet wet here. Hard to find tournament powerhouses like Access Code Talker and Magician Souls.
Very good.
Those are really good. I know those have price tags. Silent Magician and Silent Swordsman available for the first time in 8 years. And that's just in time for the brand new Silent cards coming in April's Legacy of Destruction booster set, which we know about. Cards that will glisten and gleam in your hand as they wait for the perfect moment to seal your victory. They can't say hand trap, but they mean Droll and Lockbird, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill, and Fantastical Dragon, Phantasme.
Okay, so more of the niche hand traps.
Yeah, just kind of rounding out some of the hand traps that you can
I guess
get.
Droll doesn't really feel niche.
Yeah, it's been pretty popular these days. All of the Visas field spells, so Primitive Planet Reichphobia, Primeval Planet Perloreno, Pressured Planet Raitsoth, and Peaceful Planet Calarium are all in here as well.
It's a little strange to do the field spell reprint, given that we have murdered Tiarlaments and Kashtira to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just because their field spells tend to be their most popular cards. They were usually secret rares, so...
Yeah, they were hard to get.
So they were tough to get, so I don't think this is a bad thing. And then the biker version of IP Masquerena.
I like that all.
Which is good because it was a gold rare before, and that was... Gold rares are kind of yucky.
Yeah, I like the art, didn't like the rare.
And the fierce version of Rescue Cat plus Apollosa, Bow of the Goddess. So all those alternate arts
that's cool.
That were available only as gold rares are now finally going to be available in a lot of different rarities, and obviously just probably with better print quality because gold rares sort of suck. Plus dozens and dozens more. So whether you're a collector or a competitive duelist, 25th Anniversary Rarity Collection 2 is full of cards that everyone will want to get their hands on. The main question here is, like, it's been like 6 months after the first one. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's too soon?
Yes and no. If their goal is to get players caught up with all the with the last 5 years of Yu-Gi-Oh, and just have them prepared to play more competitive, and have them prepared to build more modern decks, then I think that's fine. Yeah. It feels kind of like what was that set that just kind of gave us a bunch of cards?
Like Duel Devastator.
Yeah, it reminds me of like Duel Devastator, whose goal was just to help us get our hands on useful cards. In this case, it feels like they've split the set in two, and now they're just helping us get these cards. However, if the goal is to maximize the selling of product, I think it is too soon because, I mean, our wallets aren't just going to get bigger because they're going to release another product so soon.
Yeah, there's a few thoughts I have on this. So, yeah, I think it is a bit soon. I honestly expected a Rarity Collection 2 just because the first one did have RA01 as the set code. So it's okay, so it'll probably be RA02. I thought it would be maybe in November again, a full year later. Or maybe even 2 years later or something. Assumption. I think that they're doing it this soon because my maybe more cynical hunch is that Rarity Collection 1 kind of saved Yu-Gi-Oh! At a lot of card shops. Mm-hmm. I know that, last fall, kind of late summer fall, was not great for Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of bad headlines about shops kind of dropping the game entirely because they were just having such difficulty selling products and players weren't interested, and it really wasn't good, and they had a few back-to-back middling releases. Soul-Bearing Volcano, the tins weren't great. Vows of Legend was kind of underwhelming. People didn't like Dune. And so then Rarity Collection comes along, and suddenly, everyone just wants it. It's flying off shelves. Mm-hmm. Everyone's getting all their different cards. They're getting collections of Rarity Collection, getting every card in every rarity. Lots of trading again. People were telling stories about how their card shops were really alive again.
Right.
And so I think Konami saw that, and honestly, they were like, "Oh, okay, good. We got to replicate that fast because we want to undo a lot of the damage where that these headlines and these shops dropping Yu-Gi-Oh did."
It was such a good set. This past weekend we visited a shop and they had a Rarity Collection binder, and I was so happy because I was like, "Oh, I'm picking up my set of Imperms right here."
Yeah, that was really great. Shout outs to that store. It was the Card Haven we went to in Texas this past weekend. It's very cool. Lots of nice people. Shout outs to the fans. Yeah, so I think that they felt the pressure to maybe release something big like this soon. My main thing is that I don't know that they can really do a third one then. At least not this soon after a second one.
I would hope they don't try and drop a third one in 2025.
So obviously I am somebody who is firmly in support of reprints. I think that it's good to just reprint the cards, let people get them, drive the availability up and I guess the prices down. My main thing that I sort of worry about, though, with this, just to give the full perspective on it, is that, what does this sort of tell you about, really, I guess, buying cards? like given the choice between this and buying like any other set that's released around it,
Maze of Millennia.
you would just always pick to buy Rarity Collection, I would think. And so I think if Konami's releasing this, they might want to, and they probably are considering, maybe like axe a few of those other reprint sets, like the Battles of Legend stuff and those sort of things, because like I think they might be because they're releasing Battles of Legend Chapter 1 or whatever, which reprints a bunch of Battles of Legend cards.
Which is strange.
So it makes me think like maybe they're just kind of going to be done with Battles of Legend.
But then what do we do with all the Anime Chronicle stuff from Japan?
Don't know. I mean, they've been kind of doing those anime cards more so in these maze sets
That's
lately.
true. The maze sets.
So I don't know if they're trying to like
anime.
reconfigure the product schedule, but I just think that like if Rarity Collection 2 exists, it's going to make it really awkward to like buy a Battles of Legend this summer as well.
I think it depends on your goal, right? So far, Rarity Collection doesn't deal in like archetypes or anime stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't reprint anything or add anything new. It's strictly reprints.
For the people who bought into like Maze because they want to play Flame Swords, and the people who bought into the last Maze because they want to play Gate Guardian, Rarity Collection isn't. It's
not the answer.
It's not a problem. I think the surprising thing about Rarity Collection was it got more competitive focused Yu-Gi-Oh players to buy sealed product. Because for once, competitive Jimmy, who only plays meta decks, who likes to optimize, and he doesn't like buying sealed product, he looked at Rarity Collection and said, "Wait a minute, I can get like sets of everything, and I'll never have to like hop on TCG Player for these staples again."
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's kind of just it's cool. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm more in support of this release than I am like against it. But it just does make you wonder, like, man, how's it going to affect like the ability to like buy. Like want to buy other packs, so
I just don't expect it to be a Rarity Collection 2 in the next 2 years.
You mean 3?
3, I mean, yeah, 3.
Yeah, I mean they'll probably run out of
2.
staples.
Yeah,
like I don't know
think,
that they have much left.
They have to print some new staples. Let us kind of like start pining for them again, and then you hit us with Rarity Collection 3.
Right? Yeah. Like so we've got like Access Code and Magician Souls. I like that. Some cards that I've heard people say they really want in here: Kurikara, Div Incarnate,
right?
Would be a really good one. Ultimate Slayer, maybe. That would probably be nice.
Good stuff.
It's a good reprint.
I want to see Chaos Angel.
Chaos Angel, I think, for sure needs to be in here. A lot of people really want that. Diviner of the Herald, apparently, is one that people really want to reprint of.
Diviner got a reprint. Or
it
a few
did.
reprints.
It's gotten one reprint, but it's supposed to be pretty useful in the new Voiceless Voice archetype.
Yeah.
And so because of Voiceless Voice, its price has kind of begun to, like, scale upwards again.
I got
so,
you.
Those could be some really good cards. There's a few other stray things. Seems like they're trying to get around to pretty much all the hand traps.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be good. I'm curious if they would put something like Chaos Angel, Dissipator, because those came out like May of like last year. So I think they could feasibly
the dark times.
They could feasibly put them in here. So yeah, I mean. It's still a cool set. I still will be buying it. I think people will be really happy about this. I just wonder how they managed to like I guess get it done. So I don't know how. I mean, obviously they can just make a product.
It just means that Konami can like they can make a product and reprint cards. They just have to feel motivated.
Yeah, I guess maybe a darker spin on that too would be like if it's this easy, why haven't they just like why did it take them this long type of thing? Because it's like, oh, hey, here's Rarity Collection 1. People love it. Okay, now we'll start reprinting things liberally like we probably should have been doing for
My assumption is that it wasn't easy and that it literally took a product like Rarity Collection to
sell so well.
To convince the people in charge, like, okay, maybe we can do this.
Yeah, that's probably true. It might have been easy per se, but just looks easy when we get to go to our card shop and buy our imperms and ashes and everything else. Well, anyways, yeah, that's Rarity Collection 2. I think it's cool. It's got a little blue color on the pack, so kind of a neat change. I guess the first one was red, so this one's blue. Right. And I will be picking it up in May. Next, though, we got to talk about Phantom Nightmare. So we got influencer reveals now, a few of them at least, as of the time that we're recording this, which is Wednesday. We mostly for we already knew about like Voiceless Voice and a lot of the other new archetypes or new like Ubel cards and stuff in Phantom Nightmare, but we did get a TCG exclusive archetype
world premiere, in
Ashened. So you know more about this than me, I think, at least the inspirations.
The Ashen archetype. I mean, I think most people kind of saw it immediately, but it's a clear reference to like the Dark Souls series of games. The idea behind Ashen is that this dragon has broken the cycle of life and death, and the hero, the king, and the priestess.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, they have to try and kill this dragon and set the world back to the way it's meant to be, which is very similar to the Dark Souls story of like an immortal warrior who he's been risen from the dead and he's trying to kill this unholy beast.
Right. So pretty cool. It's a pyro archetype, which was really exciting when they first announced it.
Hey, that works with Bonfire, guys. Y'all, you sure
Yeah.
you want to let that Maze of Millennia sit? Huh?
A convenient way to sell some bonfires, I would think. Now, people were pretty excited about this. I mean, it just looks cool. The art's very dark, really. Like it's dark fantasy kind of.
It's also one of those heavily thematic archetypes where they eschew a little bit of their competitive viability for sauce.
Yeah, speaking of that, so we did get reveals like the other day about how the deck actually works.
Yeah.
Which is a little strange. Konami typically has been like relegating that to the content creators to make those videos where it's like, here, we're going to explain this archetype. But I think that they probably wanted to be front and center in explaining this new TCG exclusive one and maybe not just give it to, I guess, certain
You may not
creator.
want a content creator to fumble it. You know, it's a big thing.
So, I kind of think I have the gist of it. Basically, it has a field spell, and the big dragon boss monster can summon itself to your opponent's field, destroy a field spell. When the field spell is destroyed, it like summons another monster from deck for you. And then also, like, when that dragon goes to graveyard in any way, it will nuke the board. So your opponent, they're going to still be pretty like hard pressed to link it off or something like that.
Yep.
Because it will nuke their board in the process. And then the Ashen monsters seem like they also sort of function around the field spell. I kind of didn't. Sorry, go ahead.
I have a decent handle on the deck. And everything you said is true. As far as the Ashen monsters, they all kind of just special summon themselves for free if you have the field spell on board. The priestess and the king seem to exist just to get you to the hero, who has an effect to destroy a pyro monster on the field. I believe it has to be your opponent's, but he can just destroy the dragon just by existing. So you can essentially nuke your opponent's board at a moment's notice with the deck.
Yeah. It's like a quick effect MST to the dragon. That's what I've heard some people kind of call it, but only for field spells.
It's a strange deck where your monsters can nuke the dragon you put on their field, and the dragon can nuke the field spell, which can start the whole like engine again.
There's kind of a cycle thing going on. Now, one thing that was strange to me, they did reveal a trap. I believe the trap's not searchable.
Oh, I don't think I read
The field spell and the trap or something like aren't like. I know that there's like some cards in the. Because the priestess searches ashened cards, and like there's a couple of cards that don't have like ashened in their name. I think the field spell and the trap maybe don't, but the quick play spell does.
I believe there's a way to search the field spell, but yeah, maybe the trap isn't searchable.
It's I haven't gone over it too closely. Honestly, I mean the archetype didn't really. I wasn't super into it. I know a lot of people were just for the art aesthetic. So when I saw the effects, I was just kind of like. Not like toning it out, but I was like, okay, I get the gist. People seem to be a little bit disappointed with these effects from the first reveal.
I mean, they're clearly not busted.
Yeah, they're not.
Which is, it's hilarious that we live in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Where field nukes it's not very impressive.
It just seems like, I guess, for most people, the deck doesn't, I guess, offer like negates. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't offer like a long combo or like many negations. It kind of feels a little more...
There's not a lot of variation in how they like interact with the opponent. What do? We nuke the board.
Yeah. Also, I think something that people did not care for is that the monsters are not fire; they're dark.
Yeah.
So that kind of precludes them from all of the recent fire support, which has been really nice. So even though they're like searchable with bonfire, you can't use them with like fire recovery or like I guess oil and stuff like that that's coming out. Like you can't use them with any of those cards. while simultaneously they lock you into Pyro as well. I think some of their
And
cards.
we know being locked into Pyro is not a place you want to be.
So like Pyro's cool, but like you still want to be able to like summon other stuff, and this kind of means you wouldn't be able to maybe use like Diabellstar and stuff with them as easily. So it's looking a little bit middling right now.
Right. But
Obviously, that can change. It's a TCG exclusive archetype, so they will be getting another round of support, presumably in the next
at least
set.
2, right?
I mean, they've been kind of going. They've changed their support thing nowadays. So they used to do the TCG exclusive archetypes with like 4 sets of support.
Yeah.
Now they only do 2. So they do like 7 and 7. It's like 7 cards this set, 7 cards the next set, and that's it.
Oh, you mean 2 in total? I thought
2
it was gonna
sets.
get 2 more. Oh, just,
Yeah, like 2.
So it's just 1 more.
Yeah, 1 more. Yeah, there will be like
Yikes.
1 more set of support if that trend continues anyway.
But
So-
I do like. I mean, when you think about what this archetype does, 7 more cards to this archetype actually sounds pretty good.
Yeah, there's like definitely a time for this to turn around. I would urge people like don't give up on the deck. Obviously, in fact, this could be an opportunity to pick it up if it's like cheap. Get it now, and then that way, if you know it gets promising later, you've got a core already. And
Things I kind of expect because of the Dark Soul references of this archetype. I expect for there to be more monsters to summon to your opponent's board and that get some type of debilitating effect when they're removed from the board. I also expect for there to be, in Dark Souls, there's like the campfires or the bonfires that are like your save points where that you get sent back to. I expect for there to be some type of way to protect for your monsters to just keep recurring to the board almost annoyingly because they can't die.
yeah, that would make sense. I think that would be something that people would also. You get to feel like you're playing the lore, and it could like depending on how that's integrated. Obviously, that could be really good. Like just as a competitive strategy, I would think. Now, the track record for TCG exclusives has not been great. I know people didn't really care too much for like Gold Pride. It never really took off. It was played with Punk, so that was cool.
Yeah, but it didn't really see competitive success.
Goatee or Fish did not really.
Was never a fan of them.
Didn't seem to really like make much impact either. So
What was our last like competitive TCG exclusive?
it still kind of feels like Cosmos maybe.
That's
Burning Abyss and
insane.
Cosmos. I mean, Kaiju was a TCG exclusive archetype, but
That's
it
true.
was
but they
like
became just kind
they
of,
became staples,
Yeah, like a
in
staple.
side decks and stuff. So
which isn't bad.
like there's something there. I just I think people are a little bit let down. But either way,
Spiral.
yeah,
they were
Spiral was
exclusive.
TCG. Yeah. It's kind of interesting though. They were not very good until they got a single new card that was not a TCG
And
exclusive
then
card.
the ban list had to like put in some work.
But yeah, I mean, I always think that with TCG exclusive archetypes, you have to just kind of like take a leap of faith with whether or not Konami will make it good or not. Testina did not pay off, but these might, and you might just find something you really like
I
playing.
mean, look at Plunder Patrol. Like they're not really competitive, but I
they're
still
fun.
feel like that archetype came together really well. It took a lot of support, but it came together.
It took some time. But yeah, so if you want to pick up Ashen, I would say just grab it. Like if nothing else, it'll probably be cheap.
If you like the aesthetic, do it. You might be surprised in the coming months.
Yeah. Okay. Next thing is a quick announcement about a QCC stream. So Konami says in celebration of the Yu-Gi-Oh card game's 25th anniversary, this was on Twitter a few days ago, the Yu-Gi-Oh TCG, Master Duel, and Duel Links will hold a joint quarter-century celebration live stream marathon on February 16th to 18th, 2024. Now, they don't give any more details on what this exactly means.
Yeah, what do they mean by marathon?
Yeah, I wonder, like a marathon, that makes it sound like it's like I guess like a 3-day long live stream. I don't know if that's going to be.
That's a long time, and I have comments enabled.
Yeah, well, hopefully they will at least have that. So this seems like, it's basically like a 25th anniversary kind of celebration stream. They're going to have something for each of the 3 main games. Shame Rush Duel can't really be, the physical Rush Duel at least, can't be included in that.
It's all packaged in Duel Links, so there's no better combination.
Yeah, So this will be neat. I don't know really too much about this. I guess it's supposed to sort of be our like equivalent to maybe like the Tokyo Dome event that's going to be happening in Japan.
Don't do that.
And
The Tokyo Dome event has much more like pomp.
yeah, it's probably going to be a little better because I think that for the Tokyo Dome they're going to have like voice actors and just all kinds of stuff.
The OCG was so excited about the Tokyo Dome event. They billed it as the large announcement during Worlds and disappointed the entire Western community.
Yeah, so what do you think will be like in this?
I mean,
just a joint live stream.
There's a lot of. I know there's a kind of a drought of product announcements after Legacy of Destruction. So if nothing else, I expect to hear about products.
Yeah, I would expect some product announcements. I mean, I participated in that Master Duel Invitational last year, would not be surprised if there's something similar to that. Where like there's just kind of some like invitational tournaments with players or creators or something like that.
I hope if they do that, I hope they've learned from it.
Yeah, I had some small qualms with how they did the experience last year, but it was largely.
And the rest of the chat were trying to figure out how the points worked. That's all we were doing.
Yeah,
we didn't know.
Yeah, I was in that Master Duel thing last year, and I don't think that they explained the rule set very well. But my team did win, so I was able to.
There's a trophy in here somewhere.
Yeah, there's a trophy in like that closet over there off screen. You guys don't know. I've shown it in a video before. So hopefully they'll be doing something like that again. And if it's 3 days long, that's like the first time I think Konami's ever really done. I mean, technically, I guess YCS events are like, 2 days long or whatever. But
if it's 3 days long, do they intend to run 24 hours each day? No, right?
There's no way.
Yeah.
There's not enough. I mean, what Yu-Gi-Oh content would you... Like for just like 72 hours or something? Like what would you put?
Once they do the announcements, I guess Jerome and like Billy hop on Master Duel and they just play for like 17 hours.
I would love to see Jerome McHale and Billy Brake just entertain the stream.
Just for like
sit there and entertain
hours
us
straight. No, I don't even want them to entertain. I just want them to sit there and play. Just vapid, vacant, just...
How about you set the camera inside of the Konami R&D department and let us get a look at that?
Oh, no.
And that's just on stream for 3 days. We can see the card design process.
If that happened, we might actually see the Konami ninjas, and y'all don't want that kind of trouble.
Yeah, they'd probably have to come and kill us all if we got to see the inside looks at how the cards are made. But, I mean, I'll be looking forward to this. Hopefully there'll be some more news about it soon.
It turns out it's just Jerome shackled to a wall. He's literally cutting the cards out.
Yeah, that's probably all it is. I mean, I don't know. I think that Konami can pull something together and make this pretty fun. It might be a good way to cap off this 25th anniversary, although I actually heard recently that apparently the 25th anniversary is just going.
I mean, it's more of like everyone wants to think of anniversaries as this set thing, and like everyone thinks an anniversary has to be the day that something important happened, and then once that day passes, it ends. But an anniversary is really a state of mind, and
you know what an anniversary really is? A marketing technique, if you ask me,
and a state of mind.
Because I mean, like I think they're just gonna just do 25th anniversary just until and just put it on products until they're done.
If I am celebrating my wedding anniversary, with fingers crossed, why should I have to stop celebrating it once the day passes? I can celebrate it for as long as it's marketable. I mean, as long as as long as I feel.
It's kind of interesting. It's like the 25th anniversary has been like happening for like a year and a half, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, cool. Tune into that. Maybe there'll be something cool. You might be able to see some of your favorite people or cards or whatever on stream.
Speaking of Master Duel, any news?
Any Master Duels? Not really. So they're starting. I think that we're supposed to be getting a second anniversary event pretty soon. I've not logged in a couple days because I was gone this past weekend. But I think that you're going to be able to get like some alternate art Blue Eyes cards and like a Blue Eyes starter deck because the first anniversary was a Dark Magician starter deck and it got an alt art. So just things like that, but nothing particularly new on the Master Duel front.
Well, I've been playing a lot of Duel Links, and there's Duel Links news.
Okay, what's going on in Duel Links?
Yeah, there's actually all sorts of little things. So, we've been doing our 7th anniversary campaign. I talked about that last week. But now we have even more stuff. Like, we just got a new Rush Duel structure deck. I know some of you guys don't care about that, but it's the Legend of Dark Magic structure. And what's interesting about it is, one, you get a reprint of Dark Magician Girl, so all you spellcaster fans can be quite happy. But also, it gives us a new spellcaster, Dark Sword Magician. And the strange thing about this is Dark Sword Magician's actually like newish in the OCG.
Okay.
This is kind of breaks the precedence of slow rolling us into the Rush Duel format. Because right now, I think trap cards are kind of king in Rush Duels, at least if you're on the ladder. And this guy actually has an effect where if you have 6 or more spells in your graveyard, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's effects. That's monster effects, spell effects, trap effects. So this guy actually can be really annoying to get off the board, unless you can swing over him, which isn't impossible. But yeah, so we got a new Rush Duel deck, and that's not all.
Okay.
We also, now these are leaks that came out with the latest update. We are getting a new mini box, Tachyon of Galaxy. It's actually a really sick box if you're a Galaxy fan, because it does have the Galaxy Ice Tachyon Dragon. But more importantly, and this is actually more important, Doom King Baladrock is coming to Duel Links.
That feels really strong for Duel Links.
It's that everyone thinks of Duel Links as like baby Yu-Gi-Oh, but Duel Links is actually kind of insane now. Like you're kind of just playing like Yu-Gi-Oh, and Duel Links right now. They're printing Doom King, Unizombie, and Mizuki. Mizuki's actually never been in Duel Links.
Mizuki wasn't in Duel Links?
No.
Interesting. Yeah,
it used to be too strong.
That'll be a scary zombie deck. I mean, like Unizombie just pitching like Baladrock and
we're kind of
stuff. That's crazy.
We're heading into a zombie renaissance. Mayakashi's actually a really strong deck right now in Duel Links, like quite strong. And so now we'll have Baladrock Zombie World plays to go with it. We're really in for a great time, but there's still more to talk about. Because also, we are getting another anniversary. I think this is Duel Links' quarter century event. So literally on the heels of our 7th anniversary event, we're getting a quarter century event, which means more gems, more new cards. They showed off the Blackluster Soldier Vanilla. It's coming to Duel Links. And, more dream tickets. We're getting a new Prismatic UR dream ticket. So stay tuned. Stay Duel Linksing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I did remember there's one kind of small Master Duel like bit of news.
Oh.
They've updated the usage rate charts. These always get people in a tizzy. Mm-hmm. Cards, like what is the percentage of people playing certain cards, or the top 10 most played cards. And Maxx-C's usage rate, because that's the card everybody likes to look at, has gone up to 95.1% from 91.7%.
Wait a minute. You trying to tell me there's around 5% of people not using Maxx-C?
Apparently so. I mean, I guess that maybe those are like people playing like some deck where like it just literally can't be run. Like maybe like some weird deep draw Exodia thing, or like maybe you wouldn't want it. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'd still probably want Maxx-C there.
Yeah, even then.
But like, just like those really niche off the wall strats, or even there are sometimes people who just play like the really unga bunga combo decks, and they don't even bother.
Have no space for anything.
There's no space for Maxx-C or Ash Blossom, or maybe they'll eschew them in favor of like just board breakers or something, so that they can do their unga bunga combo going second anyway.
Makes sense.
So there's different things like that. But yeah, this is I think the highest Maxx-C has ever been on the usage charts.
It just sounds like everyone's accepting. They're just buying in.
So, people are, of course, using this as another argument for, like, why Maxx-C should be banned. Because, I mean, if, like, literally every deck is playing it, then that should be a problem, right? Mm-hmm. I'm still kind of just, like, whatever on the card. Because as far as I'm concerned, I mean, a card being played in 95% of decks is not, like, inherently a problem.
Right.
Like, I mean, I remember when I played Yu-Gi-Oh! In, like, 2010, everybody played Maxx-C. Right, like it was
just the card,
or not Maxx-C, but Maxx-C was MST was the example I was actually going to give. Everybody played MST in like 2010, and so like if you were to do a usage rate for duelists back then, MST would probably be like 95%.
And that's crazy to think that MST was relevant in 2010. The game really changed fast.
Yeah. Also, Ash Blossom is up to 91.1%. Now, a big spike was Droll and Lockbird, which went all the way up to the number 3 most used slot from 27.1% to 70.5%.
Oh, that's huge. You should have
Due,
started with that.
yeah, due in no small part to the existence of Super Heavy Samurai and probably the Manatium deck as well. It gets hurt really bad by Droll. You kind of have to run it to survive, at least in those higher ranks. So I'm not too surprised to see that. Now, Called by the Grave actually went down from 67.8% to 58%. That's a pretty steep drop.
Just too many hand traps for your one call.
Well, you get 2 Called by in Master Duel,
Okay.
which is so crazy. There's like Called bys in different numbers depending on where you play. But I think there's actually partly too because so many people are playing Super Heavy Samurai and they actually aren't able to run Called by the Grave because they can't run spells and traps.
That makes sense.
I think actually similarly, a little further down the list, Crossout Designator also went down from 54.4% to 44.3%. So that's another, and Imperm as well, 58% to 48.2%. So this is clearly like the existence and popularity of Super Heavy Samurai is making these spell and trap staples go down in usage. Right. And most monsters kind of have gone up. So it's an interesting thing. I don't know what you're really to make of it other than this is what people are playing. It seems like my only problem is like when these lists come out, like people, they'll publish them, they'll have a little infographic and it'll get shared around on Twitter. It's not Master Duel publishing them, it's just,
some
Master Duel
enterprising individual.
People will always kind of be like, yeah, this is like ban Maxx-C, like this is the proof. But as far as I'm concerned, I mean, these are just usage numbers. Like, I don't think that they're really, the Master Duel dev team doesn't seem to really be heavily.
A card being used a lot isn't indicative of being bad for the game. And even if a card has a high win rate, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad for the game.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of strange. I mean, I think like there's like win rate for particular cards. That's a statistic. Mm-hmm. Like when this card was used, what was how often did the person who used that card win the game? And like win rate when summoned, that's another thing that they have. So it's like, when a person summons Dark Strike Fighter, they win 86.3% of the time. That's the statistic for it.
But
so
that just makes sense, though. Certain cards only get summoned if they're going to win the game.
Yeah, like Dark Strike Fighter is literally only summoned when the FTK is happening. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, I think it's just one of those things where if you just look at the numbers, it doesn't really tell the full story. Although it's a great talking point, but
I think a better percentage, or maybe this is the win rate of a card, even like just being in the deck, regardless of whether or not it gets played or drawn or anything.
Yeah, so I'm kind of interested in like if this is informing the ban list sort of decision making for the dev team. Presumably, I mean they're looking at all of it and considering all of it, but it's just like I think that I'm past the point of like caring about Maxx-C hitting 90. I mean, it can hit like 99% penetration rate, and I still don't think that that's necessarily why the dev team would ban it. I'm not saying that the card should or shouldn't be banned for other reasons, but just that I think that we should know by now that seeing this new list every month isn't, I mean...
What if we endeavored to run Maxx-C up to 100%?
I don't think anyone has to endeavor to. It feels like it's just going to naturally get there.
What if we as a community all just make an agreement? We're all going to run Maxx-C in every game for a month to make it 100% just to say we did it.
And that might be more fun than complaining about it. Just use it and let it,
Like use it and win or use it and lose. The crazy part is you still win and lose regardless of whether or not Maxx-C gets used. So does it really make a difference?
That's an interesting statistical point, actually, is that like Maxx-C's win rate can't actually be like all that high when you think about it. Because like everyone runs it, so it's actually probably
closer to 50.
Closer to like 50% or something. So and then there are finally a few more Legacy of Destruction cards have been revealed just over the last few days. Kind of rank through them quickly. Valmonica and Memento and Centurion have all gotten their like kind of wave of support stuff.
Did you see the one that got released today?
I did. It's an illusion, Apprentice Illusion Magician sort of retrain as an actual like illusion monster.
Right.
You can pitch a card to summon her from hand, and she searches any illusion thing you can.
That's the one I'm excited for.
There's a big consistency for that type.
Nightmare Apprentice.
Yeah, Nightmare Apprentice. So yeah, I mean, there's also like there's like a new rank 10 monster I saw. It's like kind of cool.
That thing that just destroys things.
Yeah, just destroys stuff. So lots of cool Legacy Destruction stuff. I think Legacy Destruction is shaping up to be just an exciting set for a lot of people. Like a lot of different like archetype supports and just things in it.
I think it's a pretty heavy hitting set. Given that while Phantom Nightmare, I think is personally a great set for me. I think Phantom Nightmare isn't going to be such a huge set, in my opinion.
Well, maybe they just both will.
You think?
Like, because people want what is the card that Snake Eye Populous?
Populous.
Yeah, people want Populous from this new one and like Voiceless Voice. But I do think Legacy of Darkness or Legacy Destruction will probably be slightly more popular.
I just feel that after people shelling out for bonfires and everything else, I think the desire towards Populous might be a bit more muted than expected, just because there is some fatigue with people having to just buy these expensive Sinful Spoil engine cards.
Yeah, and not everybody's even like after Sinful Spoils. Like Sinful Spoils has a pretty steep price of entry, and so I think like we might even be like this is kind of zooming out on it a bit, but I think like sometimes we're always like, oh, Yu-Gi-Oh's so expensive right now, these bonfires, these wanteds, but like not everybody really even wants to play. It's like playing that. Like it's easy to, I guess, look at it and think like every player is just being taxed $500 right now.
Because we all have to play the one
deck.
Everyone,
you just go to your card shop and you just hand them your credit card and they take $500. Now you're allowed to continue to play Yu-Gi-Oh. But it's not really like that. I mean, I think the vast majority of people are just excited for various things.
At the shop, I heard a few different things and anecdotes going around. But I saw multiple people trade away their bonfires happily because they had absolutely no intention of using any pyro-based decks. And so that was a lot of value to pull out of their boxes.
Smart, I would say.
Then I heard one guy, and this is a quote, if Populous gets revealed as a secret rare, I think I'm taking a break from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think if Populous is secret, that'll probably be another like $80 card or something. And it feels like it might be a little too much.
Because I think for most competitive players, they don't care. If they're playing that deck, they're playing that deck. But I think it will be a percentage of people who are slowly, like, they've been buying these cards painstakingly, and the straw will break at some point if we don't chill out with all the high rarity printings for that one strategy.
Yeah, I think you don't want to, no pun intended, burn players out with all these fire things. I actually think the Populous will be an Ultra. It's probably been revealed by the time you guys are like watching this podcast or something.
Because we've been seeing all the Ultras. Have they done secrets yet for Legacy of Destruction?
They've shown like Voiceless Voice, so we know like one of theirs is a secret, and they have like 2 Ultras.
Oh yeah, and
like
we saw
Low and
yeah, that's right.
So yeah, I mean, I think like there is like a certain amount of just fatigue around like having to get price gated out of playing really competitively. But
that's what I remembered.
Okay.
Goblin Rider rarities.
Oh yeah, was that revealed yet? Or
I don't know if those were officially revealed or leaks, but I saw 2 secrets and 2 ultras for Goblin Riders.
Oh, okay. They don't seem like they're getting a lot of hype. People aren't super into the Goblin Riders.
I don't think they win immediately is the problem. Like
how dare they?
The cards we have right now aren't like, oh yeah, these are immediately meta relevant, but they can be.
Yeah, I mean, like, how dare a Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetype come out and not win me the game right now here on the spot? But I paid my money.
Their mechanic is so unique to them.
Quite unique, yeah.
I think
like picking up Goblin Riders will be a good call.
I think that would be smart.
It's still within the lore, which means like this is not the end of the support. Mm-hmm. And when Konami does something where it's like, you can detach from Xyz, there's probably a reason. Like there might be like a big new Xyz archetype here like later in the year or something. And
I haven't read their effects in a while, but do Goblin Riders lock you into their archetype?
Don't think so.
If not, I mean, come on. Like an archetype that breaks down Pirelli and they can effortlessly make a Zeus because they're an Xyz archetype that add and remove materials at at a
Yeah,
moment's
they can make a
notice.
Zeus and break a Zeus. They can break an opponent, like just take its material. So, yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot to say there. It'd be cool. I think that's. Is there any other like stray Yu-Gi-Oh
That's all I had.
tidbits? Cool. I'm glad because last week we talked about Yu-Gi-Oh so gosh darn much. I feel like
Everyone's sick of Yu-Gi-Oh.
I'm happy to talk about a few other things as well. I think the people would not mind either. But really quickly, I will say there is one thing I saw a comment like on last week's podcast of how you can say like, we were talking about how it's difficult to distinguish between like rush duels and duel links and all that stuff. Somebody said that they call it speed duel links, rush duel links, speed duel, and like master duel, and then like TCG.
Okay, yeah, like
so it's
that.
kind of a
Speed
a
duel
way of
links
saying.
versus speed duels and
So
rush
like
duel
lately,
links
Alec
versus
has been
rush
playing a
duel.
lot of rush duel links,
Right,
but
okay.
maybe not as much speed duel links. Also, I found. So I'm an idiot. I will say. We were talking
I
about.
agree. I don't even know what you're gonna talk about, but I agree.
Thanks. We were talking about speed duels and trying to find like a speed duel local or a speed duel like event. And on Neuron, they actually list speed duel events.
Oh,
So you can find card shops that have like planned, like actual, like this is an event that's going to happen, not just, oh, this shop sometimes has them. You have to like take a leap of faith. And so I think that I want to go and maybe travel to whatever the largest or like kind of seemingly prominent speed duel locals is. Maybe soon.
Yeah, guys, go ahead and drop your speed duel locals in the comments. Campaign for yourselves. Really make a case for it.
I mean, because like we can go, like that could be kind of fun. Like just
Someone starts a speed duels locals just because we said this. I'm like, look, Team APS, we have the largest speed duel locals. It's a 1-day thing where they got everyone to buy into it.
Yeah. So
It's a 50-man tournament.
So, I don't know. Just thought that would mention that real quick. But anyway, on to the other news that's happening today. Lots of it.
Yeah, I've got a few card game stories.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll start with card game, I guess, and then get into other things. So what do you got?
All right, so first I'll start off with MTG. For once, it's not AI. Who would have thought?
Good to hear.
So you might remember in a previous pod, I mentioned they made changes to the Secret Lair program for MTG, where they were going from a make to what's the phrase? Produce to where they made as much as orders they got, and they were switching over to a kind of a drop system where it's a limited time, get your order in now type situation. Well, the latest Secret Lair came out, and it sold out in a few hours. This was their kind of cats and dogs Secret Lair, so it had a lot of popularity just from cat owners. And in only a few hours, that Secret Lair was sold out. So, if you wanted that Secret Lair, it was already gone. This is the first time we've used that model, and a lot of people got left out.
Yeah.
Now, we'll have to see do the people who got their orders in, will they get their orders sooner? 'Cause I would hope so. We're gonna wait to see how this shakes out, how satisfied people are with the new Secret Lair change. Just right now, I just am upset to see another thing becoming a drop, becoming a limited release.
Yeah, when I was reading the comments about that Secret Lairs change, it seemed like people were... Man, I was reading and I couldn't really get a consistent pulse check on how people felt about it, because I did see people that were saying things like, well, it's better to be kind of like you quickly get your order in and like that's it. There's like some reason that people would cite as why like this change seemed good on paper. I don't know. I guess.
I'll just keep my eyes on the story and see how it develops over time. Just wanted to give you guys a small update. Yeah,
what is the name of that Secret Lair?
Oh,
is that Clue?
No. This is Raining Cats and Dogs. Oh. It's a cat and dog Secret Lair where you get cat centric and dog centric cards.
Oh, okay. What is the Clue thing?
Actually, that was my next story.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
So the next story I have is Magic the Gathering's Clue crossover is a strangely compelling mix of both games. So in the latest or the upcoming set, Murders at Karlov Manor. I'm not sure if I even said that correctly. There's this kind of murder mystery theme to that set, and it was not lost on anybody the like sheer amount of kind of clue references in the cards themselves. Well, they decided Wizards of the Coast doubled down on that, and they made a Jumpstart like product. Jumpstart being their kind of sealed play kit that you can just kind of jump into with a bunch of friends who don't need to know that much about Magic. And they've combined it with the game of Clue. So it's called Magic the Gathering Ravnica Clue Edition.
Okay.
And it's a sealed box meant for 4 players. And you play a mix of Magic and Clue, where it's a Magic game, but there are hidden cards that were ones like a murderer, a weapon, and a location.
Oh, okay.
And over the course of the game, you can win by just beating all your opponents like in a normal Magic game, but you can also win by guessing who did it, how they did it, and where they did it.
That sounds fun. I would like to maybe give that a shot. I mean, I don't know how to play Magic for too much, but
it's one of the simplest card games.
I've played Clue, so
I thought it was a really cool spin on the Jumpstart product. I actually sent it to Larry like, hey, we gotta try this.
yeah, I'm sure Larry would love to try that. He's a big board game fan, so it's neat. I mean, like I'll say this, in a world where like Magic's been doing all these weird collabs, this is the first one that feels like it's actually like bringing something kind of different to the table, like literally like mechanically different, and like how you engage with the game as opposed to maybe just being like the Marvel collab or whatever.
And it looks like it's one of those, it's like a sealed play experience where you can reseal it and then play this game again. And because the hidden cards will change every time, like in a game of Clue, it's the same game, but a new mystery every time.
Yeah, okay. Cool. Yeah, I think that actually that reminds me, I was thinking that it would be neat if like Yu-Gi-Oh had like a sealed play, like a deck building. Like
the closest thing we have to are the speed duel boxes.
Yeah, I guess we have that.
Like
so
that's our. We're nowhere. I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh's anywhere close to like collabing with any other like major properties in that way. It would be nice though.
Okay, cool. Any other Magic things?
That's it for Magic.
That's it for Magic. Well, here's one that could affect a very popular digital card game. Riot Games announced the end of Riot Forge and more after laying off 530 employees. So, Riot Games has shared news about laying off roughly 530 staff, which is approximately 11% of the developer's total workforce. Mm-hmm. League of Legends and Valorant developer Riot Games came forward with the announcement of new layoffs with a broader company refocus. So, the company explained how it's taking steps to focus on areas that players are invested in while reducing its commitment to areas that aren't having as much impact.
Okay. They're downsizing.
Yeah. The adjustments we're making aim to focus on the areas that have the greatest impact on your experience while reducing investment on things that don't.
Which really it means is what's making the most money and what isn't.
Yeah. So the 2 projects that will be most heavily affected by these changes are the Runeterra card game, Legends of Runeterra, and Riot Forge. I don't know what Riot Forge is.
I'm not familiar with Riot Forge at all.
Riot announced that Riot Forge would be ceasing new game development after the release of its 6th title, Bandle Tale, a League of Legends story. The Forge was a partnership program that saw indie developers pair up to create single-player titles that told stories from the League of Legends universe. So, of course, they'd probably be the first to go.
That's lame, because lore.
Yeah. We're proud of what we've done together to bring these stories to life, but it's time to refocus our efforts on the ambitious projects underway internally at Riot. So, additionally, Riot's card game, Legends of Runeterra, will be moving towards sustainability over new updates. So,
interesting.
The devs cited financial challenges as the reason behind this, with the game moving more towards the PvE Path of Champions mode to allow the remaining team to experiment more in that space.
I wonder, because usually like digital card games are quite profitable, but I guess that wasn't the case with Runeterra.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they. I don't play Runeterra, as always. If anyone in the comments does, please feel free to
fill us in.
Fill us in a little bit on this. It's interesting to hear that they're like caring more, I guess, about PvE. I don't know, like, so it makes it sound like maybe they're not going to be releasing as many like new cards or maybe like balance patches, or maybe it's like less of a focus on the just competitive scene.
If you take out PvP, which they didn't necessarily say they're removing PvP,
yeah,
but if you focus on PvE, that gives you the freedom to kind of design whatever cards you want. If the only thing the player has to interact with is a computer, you can print crazy busted things just because you don't have to worry about the game becoming unbalanced.
Yeah, so I thought this was kind of neat. I've never. That's a really unfortunate for like, I mean, like 530 staff members being laid off.
Yeah,
globally.
That is tragic. But
that's,
I mean,
11% of the entire company.
That's corporations. That's the one of the biggest downsides to getting like a corporate job is somebody in a suit can say, "We're letting you go for efficiency's sake."
Yeah, here's a little quote from their press release. For most of our history, we've managed to avoid days like this, but this decision is critical for the future of Riot. This isn't to appease shareholders or to hit a quarterly earnings number. It's a necessity. Over the past few years, as Riot more than doubled in headcount, we spread our efforts across more and more projects without sharp enough razors to decide what players needed most. Mm-hmm. The adjustments we're making aim to focus us on the areas that have the greatest impact on your experience while reducing investments on things that don't. So they even acknowledge that we recognize that many of you don't just care about the games you play, but also about the people who make them. These are not just organizational changes, they affect individuals and families, and we do our best to approach these decisions with respect and sensitivity. They even shared the email that they sent to their employees. So that's kind of an interesting thing.
That's a weird thing. So you sent the same email to all the employees you laid off? I mean, it's 500, so I guess...
Well, I guess they have to send the same
really
thing. But, you know, there's this new trend now on the internet of, like, that email would leak anyway. Mm-hmm. And, like, people... Once it's leaked, then people will say, like, wow, this is so insensitive of them, or wow, this is such a,
So in this way, they're getting out ahead of it.
Yeah, so...
Guys, take a look at what we used to fire 500 people. It's weird. It's almost, it feels like you're committing murder and then you're showing off the murder weapon. Like, guys, look what we used. It's a, I mean,
it's better, I guess, caliber. To show off the murder weapon than have people find the murder weapon, like, with the blood on it, you know,
right?
The smoking,
the literal smoking gun,
the smoking gun or whatever. So it's like, I don't know, but yeah, Legends of Runeterra and Riot Forge are seemingly the ones that are going to
get the
be affected the most. Well, not get the axe, but just be affected the most.
I meant the employees.
Yeah, the employees. And I mean, I don't know what type of employees these were. I don't know if these were developers themselves. I don't know if these were like people working on art or like marketing or...
It was whoever they thought was expendable.
But yeah, so it seems like a lot of them did get laid off. At least they made it past Christmas.
Yeah. Some companies can't claim that.
Yeah, sometimes people get fired in like November, December. So yeah, that's just a little update from them. Anyways, back to you.
So I've got some Pokemon stories.
Okay.
Yeah. You'd think that there would be a lack of stories about Pokemon cards being stolen, but
never.
There just never is.
What did they take this time?
Pokemon cards reportedly stolen from Van Gogh Museum by several employees. So, when it was announced that Pokemon would be creating the Van Gogh-style cards back in September 2023, fans were instantly obsessed. Players, collectors, and scalpers alike quickly headed to the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam and bought the sets instantly. They typed brought, but causing plenty of disappointment from those who missed out. Since it was a rare set, many began selling them at much higher prices, with some cards pulling in around $100 on eBay. Many fans predicted this, and reportedly so did the employees working in the Van Gogh Museum, as it's now been revealed that at least 4 workers have been suspended after exhibition misconduct, as reported by Het Parool.
So the employees stole some cards?
Yeah, they did.
They're trying to like spin them on...
Because like you remember the whole Van Gogh Pikachu debacle, how people were just rushing to buy these things. There were fights, near riots.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense. I mean, not that it's like a good thing that the employees did it, but it makes like this is not a... I'm not surprised to hear this is probably what I should say.
There's this weird, I don't know, weird hypocritical or juxtaposition. The idea that this little Pikachu, this little yellow mouse with red cheeks, would inspire criminal acts multiple times.
I mean, it really speaks to just like partly the, cultural impact of Pokemon, but also just the damage that I think was done in that 2020 Pokemon boom. I mean, I think it was just the damage that's been done to like, people will steal, they'll get violent. There's like, been the rise of drop culture, as we know, and like just the limited availability of these things. And so can't say I'm surprised. That's really unfortunate. I mean, it was unfortunate when they had to end the thing to begin with, like where they weren't able to, because like museum employees were getting
unsafe.
Yeah, it was deemed unsafe. Museum employees were like being harassed and stuff.
But maybe they should have been if they were stealing.
I mean, it's probably different ones.
I know, yeah.
I would hope.
It was. They said it was at least 4, so
there's probably like 10.
Yeah,
10 employees are like taking things.
The 4 that got caught, and the others that were just kind of turning the other cheek or a blind eye, you might say.
Okay, cool.
And then I have this kind of article, except it's referencing like tweets.
Oh, okay. Is it a Pokemon thing?
It is Pokemon.
Okay.
So this is the Pokemon TCG community is getting creeped out by suggestive V-star markers. Now, we in the Yu-Gi-Oh community are actually quite familiar with such a concept.
Suggestive V-star markers?
Yes.
What are V-star? Is it like a token or something?
Yeah, the V-star markers are these little kind of tokens you can use to denote you have not used your V-star ability this game. V-star abilities are quite strong, and you can only use 1 per game. Okay. And your opponent can forget had you not used 1. So the token is to show that, I have not. So watch out.
Okay, so what are people saying?
So it's all about this tweet. This is after the Charlotte Regional. I believe we actually saw it on TV this past weekend.
Yeah.
So many positives from Charlotte, but I have to mention one negative. I've noticed an uptick in players using hypersexualized images of women as V-star markers. This is very unfortunate and not fit for our game, and we wonder why a lot of women are uncomfortable at events.
So were they allowed to use these on stream?
I don't think they used them on stream.
But just in general, they were there.
They were using them at tables, and they go on to talk about how, in the Masters division, there are children, there are women, and there are still TCG players showing up with these very sexual markers because they don't fall within tournament regulation. You can't use hypersexualized mats. And you can't use hypersexualized sleeves, but since V-star markers are new, they're not actually within the regulations.
What a freaking boring story. And by boring, I mean like it's so annoying that people gamers. God, like act right. I just like there are kids at the events, like behave. Leave that shit at home. Like that's gonna. I know I might have pissed someone off with that. Leave that shit at home. There's just not really any. There's no place for it. I don't know when people got it in their head that like bringing, some lewd half naked anime girl Matt or whatever to the local card shop. It's like how that's fun or self-expressive. I mean, there's like kids there.
It's all about the culture of the card shop being a boys club. Things always get a little sideways when you let enough guys get together for long enough periods where they get really comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not every card shop, but some card shops are such boys clubs that you can walk around with nigh pornographic materials and you'll get some high fives, some laughs, a few cringes, but that's just the card shop culture there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people forget themselves when they go to tournament, like, hey, this is no longer
it's not your little
this is not the locker room anymore.
Boys club thing. Yeah. I mean, I honestly think I know Yu-Gi-Oh's done a pretty good job of cutting a lot of that out. Mm-hmm. Like they've banned deck boxes and a lot of mats and stuff, and they made it where you can't use little kinky token card images and stuff. You have to actually use proper tokens. I think you should be able to call a judge personally. I think because if you sit down to play and someone whips out half naked anime girl mat or something or whatever that they're using, you should literally be able to judge and call them over and just be like, yeah, this.
It's just the issue, at least for the Charlotte Regional, was because there was no rule against it. There was no judge call to be made. There was no rule for a judge to actually Because
Well,
if
hopefully
it had
they'll
been a
be-
mat, if it had been
it
a
had been a
mat
mat,
with
it would've been-
sleeves, they would have been able to.
See, and that's another thing too. Is just like one of these things where it's like, okay, let's take the little thing that hasn't been regulated yet and sexualize that.
Yeah.
Like we can't use like sleeves or mats that are lewd. Well, darn it, I'm gonna find a way to push the rules, push the boundaries.
I mean, we saw what happened almost immediately with the field center token boom in the Yu-Gi-Oh space. You know, we needed field centers when Links came out because our zones started to matter and not every playmat had zones on it. And we didn't have official field centers, which that's on Konami for not having at the time not having them. People almost immediately start bringing all sorts of wild fan art as their little field center tokens.
Yeah, I think that's it's just not good. Like, I'm pretty sure, like Pokemon being Pokemon, they'll get this sorted out pretty fast. I don't have really any doubts that they'll probably have a policy update very soon.
Because I mean, lots of parents bring their kids. There's lots, and there's lots of I think there's a lot more like girls in that space as well. Where like, you know, I don't think they should have to be reminded just how hypersexualized they are by society when they're sitting down to play a card game.
I agree. I think that the sooner the better that they get rid of this. I just don't allow people to have
Like,
that.
guys, you can have what you want. Just
Leave
keep it
at
to
home.
yourself.
I say leave that stuff at home. Like you can play that at the kitchen table with your bros and be weird about it or whatever, I guess. But
and I never understood the idea of like bringing that and showing it off to people.
I know that gives a worse image of who you are than.
I never quite get it. It reminds me a bit of how guys will go to the strip club together. It's like, I don't know, why do we want to both be aroused together?
Yeah, I think just it's not really good. So, especially like in Pokemon in particular, even more so than like a Magic or a Yu-Gi-Oh. It is like Pokemon. It is like the audience would skew.
The
even
most
younger,
looted franchise in history.
Also, sadly true.
That is very sad.
Well, any other card game stories?
That's all I have for card games.
Well, it's a great segue into the game that is being compared to Pokemon right now.
Oh, good. I was going to bring it up, too.
Yeah, Palworld.
Yeah, guys.
So I'm sure you've heard about this.
I think we explaining this to them is pointless.
Yeah, everyone
knows about Palworld.
So just a quick and dirty explanation is this new game that's released on like Xbox Game Pass and Steam and stuff. And it's sort of a survival style game, a bit of a mix. There's like
with heavy Pokemon influences.
Yeah, there's like sort of some survival aspects and shooting and like training and building, construction sort of things.
Like survival, Monster Hunter, Pokemon. I feel like those are the genres here.
And so there's been a lot of controversy around this game. First and foremost, though, it sold really well. It surpassed, like, I think, 7 million sales.
And it's got plenty of active players right now.
Lots of active players, broken some Steam records for active players in the last year or whatever. Lots of content creators playing it. Mm-hmm. And the big controversies around it are kind of, there's a few. The first big one is that it seems heavily inspired by Pokemon, the designs of the creatures.
To me, that wouldn't be a problem if it was just inspired by Pokemon.
Yeah, some people feel that it's, ripping them off. Other people feel like it's just, Pokemon ripped other things off in the past too. There are a lot of Pokemon that are directly inspired by like games like Dragon Quest to creatures, for instance. Mm-hmm. The second thing is that the developers are some of the developers have been associated with like crypto related games, NFT related games.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
And supporting AI
scammers.
Things.
They use new technologies.
Yeah, NFTs are fun. They're not, but so that's kind of been a thing. Like it seems like maybe some of the developers might be a bit shady in that regard, if you consider that to be less than ethical. And then also there are people who are saying that this is like what Pokemon should be, and so they are, coming after Pokemon fans and saying that like your game's crap. This is the new kid on the block. Pokemon will be gone by the end of the month.
All right, relax. Okay.
Yeah, I know it's so that's like some of the stuff people are saying. Have I missed any?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. I want to give a quick anecdote about my experience at Palworld.
Okay.
So we're no strangers to the Pokemon Killer of the Year type situation.
Yeah.
It's happened a few times before. They never killed Pokemon. When Palworld was first shown off, I was like, oh, this looks interesting. But I didn't know why I was so interested. I'd seen other Pokemon killers, but this one was the one where I was like, there's something about these monsters.
Yeah.
Like, I just,
It looks cool
I kind of
and
want to
fun.
I was like, I want to try this out. But then I was like, but I kind of don't want to try this out. And I couldn't quite put my finger on why I was drawn to the monsters, but also was kind of didn't want to jump in. And it's because the monsters actually are just Pokemon mixed to like amalgamations of different Pokemon. Like it's almost, it feels criminal how you can point to any one PAL and you can directly find the Pokemon that comprised its body.
Yeah. So, I mean, the big conversation is just like, is that okay? Like, is it okay that that's the case? And, you know, like, frankly, I'm not sure if it's, like, objectively bad that they look like Pokemon. It's just, maybe I should be, so where I'm coming from this is this is a game I'm never going to play.
Right.
So not because I don't like it, not because I think that they're unethical, not
he just
because
doesn't
of any
have
of that.
$26, yeah.
But yeah, I'm too poor to buy it apparently, and also no, I don't really play these games. I don't really care that much for the genre. I don't like these sort of survival building shooting games aren't my thing, and I don't play that many games to begin with. So my opinion is that of more of an outsider in that like I don't have some vested interest in this game doing well or it failing. Like it won't, you know, I don't think that there's any like big morality thing at play here. But what I found when I like have just seen like footage and stuff of the game is mostly this. It looks like kind of an asset flip.
Yeah.
Like with that can be said of mini games, but a lot of the graphics, the animations, they seem, you know, very stock, you know, graphics, sound effects, things like that. So it certainly seems like a bit of a cheap game, and it seems like it kind of throws a lot at the wall. Like in terms of gameplay mechanics.
There's so many mechanics in just one game.
There's a lot you can do. But I don't think that's necessarily bad. I mean, like some would view that as like it's a very sloppy, like just we didn't care, we just kind of threw it all in. Other people would say, well, that might be what makes it an enticing game because like for a younger audience, for instance, a lot of kids love having many different things to do. You shoot, you fight, you catch, you build, you know, little Jimmy can always be kind of busy catching his creatures and throwing his creatures and beating them up and catching more and building stuff and making fires.
I think it's crazy the way that if you don't have a weapon, you just kind of like swing on them.
Yeah, people have called it Pokemon with guns. So
yeah, and you can even give them guns. It seems you can even shoot them like
despite
guns.
the very clear inspirations of the Pokemon or the pals or whatever. I think like it's. The weirdest thing about comparing them is mostly that these are two very different genres of games.
Yeah. Unlike most Pokemon clones, they don't actually copy one of the main parts of Pokemon is the Pokemon battle system that many games have copied. That even you could even argue they copied that from someone else. But anyway, that Pokemon battle system is so uniquely tied to Yu-Gi-Oh! To Pokemon that they didn't use that at all. So in some ways it's not like Pokemon at all.
Yeah, like people are calling it the Pokemon killer. I mean, they're different genres, so like I don't know about that part. I think that the comparisons being drawn are just because of the visual inspirations and the game maybe feeling like it's creatively bankrupt is what I've heard someone say.
That's what I would call it.
I don't know. I guess I'm inclined to probably to not like hate this game outright until I hear maybe like if it comes out that there have been like assets stolen or, you know, something like that comes out about it, then I guess I would have more of a reason to dislike it. Right now, I think it's just a game that will probably, like more than anything, be a bit of a fad.
Yeah, I think it's gonna pass. I don't see Palworld sticking around just because I think you actually need creativity to make it in this world as far as gaming and like art goes, and I don't feel any of that from Palworld. It feels devoid of that.
Yeah, I think it won't just because like and this is nothing against Palworld or people who like it or any of that, but it just seems like we're actually at a point now where I think it's kind of hard for new games to like last longer than a month.
It's tough.
It just because I mean, if you look at like how like last year's gaming cycle went, so like every month or so, it's a new kind of thing that you are supposed. The social zeitgeist of gaming is like this game for this month and this game for this month and this game. Like you're supposed to care about Zelda, and now you're supposed to care about Armored Core, and then you're supposed to care about Baldur's Gate, and then you're supposed to care about like whatever else. And it's like no one can really stick to anything for very long. Like sure, it's got a really inflated amount of interest right now, but like there's also nothing else happening right now in gaming.
Look, I'll play Palworld when Palworld 2 comes out.
So yeah, and that's kind of the thing. Now, good for them. I'm glad that they have gotten the sales. They have apparently, the developers have said that like they've like outlined what their next set of releases and stuff will be in early access. That's another thing. The game is still in early access.
But you paid $20 for it.
Yeah, which always raises an eyebrow for me too. I don't know how I feel about, like, I know a lot of games love to sort of say that they're like in early access, and I don't know if that's like meant to be like a bit of a scapegoat for when things go wrong.
Yeah, if it's in early access, if anything goes wrong, hey, you
like,
knew
yeah,
it was
like it's like in beta, or like it wasn't finished.
It's not done yet. The final version, it's coming out soon.
Well, here's something that does relate a little bit more to our neck of the woods. Somebody has made, it's inspired fan-made trading cards. They made PAL trading cards.
Wow.
So this person on Reddit, Trevor Woodham, I'm going to design and draw a Palworld trading card every day. Day one was this PAL called Fox Sparks, which looks a lot like a Flareon or a not Vulpix or something. Here you can have a little quick look.
Okay, that looks like a monster.
So yeah, I mean, I guess this is cool. A fan is sort of trying to turn it into trading cards. Neat.
It just goes to show that at least from the consumer point of view, the line between Palworld and Pokemon is quite blurry.
Yeah.
Because I saw a story about a Pokemon mod for Palworld.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Someone had announced that they were making a Pokemon mod for Palworld where the Pals really look like Pokemon then, and they've already got a DMCA from Nintendo.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you got to be careful with that. That sort of thing will pretty quickly. Like Nintendo doesn't really play around with those sorts of things, and also I think like Palworld itself, like the game, probably needs to distance itself from those sorts of mods.
They do.
Like, so that it's not associated with Palworld.
Someone's working on a Digimon one as well.
That seems fun.
Yeah, that one hasn't had a DMCA yet, but give it a couple seconds.
Is it interesting, actually, that I think that a Digimon mod feels more fitting?
Well, like, the Digimon world is a bit rougher.
Yeah, the Digimon world, like, people kind of, they fight with the Digimon a little bit.
When the Digimon attack, they're trying to kill those children. It's not like, I'm going to shock them a little bit. No, they're trying to murder them.
Right, yeah, so...
I actually have another one where the Palworld devs respond to the potential of a Nintendo lawsuit.
Oh, what did they say?
No, they say they are not worried in the slightest. As far as they're concerned, they've passed every legal check that can be made, and they have gotten no notices or anything from Nintendo as of the day this article was posted, which was yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that. I think that at its base level, there is not really anything that you can, like, easily fight. Like, obviously Nintendo could if they wanted to. But so far, it seems like they're different. I think that what I actually dislike the most about the whole Palworld situation is, and it always comes down to this, it isn't actually Palworld itself. Like, whether you like Palworld or not is kind of up to you. It's that people are arguing. People on the internet, of course, are using this as an excuse to bash Pokemon fans. Like, Pokemon fans are bashing Palworld, and Palworld fans are bashing Pokemon fans.
People versus people.
And it's another like people against people problem where instead of, really even talking about the games anymore, we're kind of more so just talking about what it means if you like, Pokemon. Like, if you like Pokemon, you love giving Game Freak $60 every year for a terrible unfinished game. Mm-hmm. Or if you play Palworld, then you just like plagiarism and thieves and AI and NFTs. And I think we're losing the mark at the idea that these are two fairly different, quite different really games.
Yeah, really. If any, like, honestly, you're both doing fine. Who's suffering are 2K and FIFA players.
Yeah.
They have all those things.
Or Runeterra
all wrapped
players.
up in one.
So, yeah, that's Palworld. I'd love to hear in the chat, what do you guys think of Palworld? You're playing it? You like it? Do you think
Statistically speaking, they've probably all played it.
Yeah, I think everyone's played it or at least
extremely
seen it.
popular.
So, Is it the second coming of Pokemon and we will be playing this in 10 years? Or will we be playing Pokemon in 10 years and Palworld will be a stain on the Steam store? I don't know.
I'm still buying Pokemon games. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, maybe buy them both. Who's to say you got to pick a side? For some people, they might just...
People are already buying a $20 early access game. Sure, you
buy
this one too.
Surely...
You'll probably buy anything at this point.
Yeah, it sounds like Alec.
I got some snake oil in my bag.
So you're not too big a fan of Palworld, it sounds like.
Nah, I'm not.
You're not?
But I'm not actually critical of Palworld players and enjoyers. I may sound like I am, but if games don't have to be creative to be fun, so.
Well, anywho, that's the information for Palworld. Well, listen, I'll tell you something.
What you got?
That you do need to get a little more comfortable with.
No.
UbiSoft exec says gamers need to get comfortable, his word, not owning their games for subscriptions to take off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. An executive at Assassin's Creed maker Ubisoft has said gamers will need to get, quote, comfortable not owning their games before video game subscriptions can truly take off. Speaking to discuss the launch of Ubisoft's new Ubisoft Plus Premium and Ubisoft Plus Classics subscriptions, Philip Tremblay, director of subscriptions at Ubisoft, explained to GI Biz what needs to happen before subscription services become a significant slice of the video game business. Yeah, he says, I don't have a crystal ball, but when you look at the different subscription services that are out there, we've had a rapid expansion over the last couple of years, but it's still relatively small compared to other models. So we're seeing expansion on console as the likes of PlayStation and Xbox bring new people in. On PC, from a Ubisoft standpoint, it's already been great, but we're looking to reach out more on PC, so we see opportunity there. Here's where the juicy parts come in. One of the things we see is that gamers are used to, a little bit like DVD, having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They got comfortable not owning their CD collection or DVD collection.
Right.
That's a transformation that's been a bit slower to happen in games. As gamers grow comfortable in that aspect, you don't lose your progress. If you resume your game at another point, your progress file is still there. That's not been deleted. You don't lose what you've built in the game or your engagement with the game. So it's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game. I still have 2 boxes of DVDs. I definitely understand the gamer's perspective with that. But as people embrace that model, they'll see that these games will exist, the service will continue, and you'll be able to access them when you feel like. And that's reassuring. All right, so what do you think? You comfortable with not owning your games?
So I guess it's the boomer in me that says no, but he makes a good point. I can't lie to him. Dude was spitting. Like, we went from DVDs and then a brief period with Blu-rays to now we just stream everything. And I think more people than not are comfortable without owning movies and TV shows. So I guess video games can really just go the same way.
Yeah, this kind of brings me back to that. There's always that conversation about, like, do you want to physically own your games? Do you want to, like, have the case and the disc and... Do you? Do you like owning?
I mean, it takes up space, so... Like, I play so many games I don't own at this point, I can't actually claim that that's an important thing to me.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I think like all the games that I do play, which is only a few, but, the games that I play, I don't own, I guess. Like, I don't own copies of, like Final Fantasy 14, that's like one of the ones I play, or like, I've liked Hogwarts Legacy or Sonic.
Now I think about it, in the last week, I haven't played a single game that I actually own. I may have paid for them. I may have paid something for them, but I don't own them.
Digitally. Yeah. Just don't. Yeah, it's kind of interesting then. I think with gamers, there's this idea that they want to own the thing, but really, like, if you've been gaming in the last 5 years, you probably have played at least one game you just don't own. And you don't, in your head, rationalize it that way, but it is the case.
Even if you're a console player, if you have one of those digital consoles, you don't actually own any of those games. You paid for essentially a license to play them.
It's interesting, too, because... or just I guess like a point to be made is that, like, usually it's cheaper to buy the digital only version of like the PS5, for instance. Like the digital PS5 is like cheaper. So I mean, and a lot of people just want to get what's cheaper.
Yeah.
And there are like benefits to the digital thing. You don't have to go to GameStop. You don't have to go to Walmart and drive in the rain or the heat or whatever. And
so to be fair, you're probably gonna end up at Walmart at some point in your life.
True. You know, so you don't have to like go and like pick up the game on release day. In fact, nowadays with the games like digitally, you can usually access them a few hours earlier than you might be able
That's true,
to.
because you don't have to wait for a store to open. You can just midnight hit download or midnight hit play.
Now, one thing that has come up though is like video game preservation. As this article points out, as more games go down the digital route or rely on an internet connection to work, so does the risk that these games are lost to time when their servers are shut down. So, yeah, that's a true one. I mean,
it is a bit more difficult.
I think that's like something that I think about when that happens is like, well, I think some games are meant to be experienced and then just not anymore, whereas other games I think are meant to be like kept. So like I think a single player game might be something that you would want to revisit 5, 10, 20 years later, right? Like so something you enjoyed as a kid. But I think of a game like maybe a Fortnite or something where maybe like obviously I'm not saying like Fortnite's going to end tomorrow, but just like with Fortnite when it does end, I don't know that maybe people would even want to. I think people would want to like be able to still play online. But is there like a single player component that like moved you, a story that like was?
I mean, no, but yeah, look at something like what's it called, RuneScape. They specifically went back and brought back their like retro RuneScape, or whatever it's called, because people were like, man, I just really miss playing old school RuneScape. Like, can we get that back? Is it gone? Is it really gone? No, okay, let's put the servers back.
I heard this reminds me too, I don't have the story for it, but I heard like the 3DS and Wii U eShop are supposed to be like shutting down soon.
Oh yeah.
So that's
those
gonna
games,
affect
in a sense, lost to time.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff that's on there would I guess be lost to time if you haven't
maybe
transferred it. So
maybe we'll hit like where we are with the streaming wars now. We'll hit that place with video games where these streaming companies will open up and they will buy the rights to different games and then they'll put up their own servers for those games.
I mean, that's kind of what like Game Pass and the play, like it's similar to what they've kind of got going. PC doesn't technically have that like in the mainstream because I mean with Steam you're still like buying individual games and there's not like a Steam Plus where you just pay like $30 a month and have like.
I could imagine a company where now through some work they'd have to work to do this, but they pride themselves on having online retro games, and they work their asses off to get licenses, and they host servers for all sorts of just older like multiplayer games, and they have like 120 of them. You can play everything from like an old Battlefield to NBA 2K, whatever.
It's whatever your favorite old games are. But then even then, like, will those last forever? Like, will the server? What happens when you know?
I mean, sometimes with like modern day streaming, sometimes TV shows, they'll disappear from the internet. In a sense, there's always piracy. But like when no streaming service has a show or a movie, in a sense, it is gone. It can always come back.
But yeah, for a while it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. Which I guess also brings up the question of like piracy. Like with quotes like this, does that make it okay to pirate these things, some would ask. And or does it make it like, okay to like keep your create a copy for yourself of the thing.
I mean, piracy is never okay, but I mean, stop us. No.
I don't know.
I know a guy who has a copy of all of his favorite movies on Blu-ray. He doesn't need them, but he has them.
Yeah,
this on a hard drive somewhere in his closet.
I think people are just it's gonna be a fight. It's not one that I currently can say I feel strongly about either way, but that's only because it doesn't currently like affect me.
Right.
I don't like play a lot of games, and I don't, I mean, I guess I stream anime, but I don't feel the need to like have physical versions
like
of a lot of it.
If there was an official licensed, let's say Melee, some service. Maybe even Nintendo offers it, and it's like a subscription-based thing where it's like, all right, you can play Melee now, but you gotta use our site and you gotta pay our price. Would that would that be a draw for you?
I would probably do it. Yeah. I mean, this is also, but I'm like, for what it's worth, I'm the person who like will play like Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and I just don't want to play like Dueling
EDO
Book, EDO
Okay,
Pro.
yeah.
I like kind of first party things, so that kind of pulls me away from
Gotcha.
other stuff like that. It's not always 1-to-1. It's just kind of case by case basis. But anywho, I just thought that was an interesting headline. Gamers need to get comfortable not owning their games.
Comfy.
So are you guys comfortable? Those listening, are you comfortable not owning?
What I am comfortable with?
What?
This news from the MCU.
Okay, we're back to the MCU, are we?
We're not here for long now. So Wilson Bethel's Bullseye is returning for Daredevil Born Again.
I heard that was a rumor.
Well,
is that true?
They're saying it's confirmed, and this is comicbook.com. Like,
okay.
I don't love this website. Usually when they claim something's concerned, they do have a source. In this case, I can't find the source, but I will choose to believe them in this case.
I mean, yeah, that would make sense. That was Bullseye. He was in Daredevil season 3, and at the end there is kind of like a post credits suggestion that even though Daredevil beat him in that season, that he would be like, I guess.
I mean, he was
getting some modifications.
Yeah, he was. That was like season 0 Bullseye. Now we're gonna get real Bullseye.
Yeah, I mean that's cool. It's one more little neat piece of information. I don't think we talked about it on here, but they did confirm that Foggy Nelson and Karen Page, both the actors and the characters, will be also back in Daredevil Born Again. That alone was all I needed to hear to be
just moving right along, just to get right in step with the old Netflix series. It shows a very complete change in direction from whatever they had going on with that first iteration of it.
Yeah, it sounds like whatever they had going on at first was not what they needed, but bringing back the familiar faces, I think, will be. It's just important.
Yeah.
Like it builds trust and familiarity in a landscape that Marvel's in, where like you feel like you can't really trust.
We tired.
You feel like you can't trust sometimes like new things that Marvel's doing. So I think that this is that's good. As for Bullseye, the character, I didn't have any strong opinions.
I mean,
one way or
I thought he
another.
was fine. Some people loved him, so I know they're really happy.
But yeah, I'm just excited about Karen Page and Foggy Nelson. Those will be fun. I want that trio's dynamic back on screen again. Although I think as of the end of the last season, they are separated,
but equal.
But like I think they'll pull it together.
They're gonna reform the trio for this, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe they'll be back at Nelson and Murdoch, or Nelson, Murdoch, and Page. Or is that how it ended? I don't remember.
It's been some time since we saw Daredevil season.
Did they make it Nelson, Murdoch, and Page?
It could have been. I don't remember. It's been too long.
Okay, well, I'm probably getting into spoiler territory, but I guess it goes to show how long it's been since the end of like Daredevil season 3, and what will be this Born Again coming out, I guess, next year or something.
He'll be a born again devil.
So, but cool. I'm excited to hear that.
And I have one last story, and it's barely a story.
Okay, I also
it's really
have
a
one.
reminder.
Okay, well,
I'll do it. It's a quick reminder.
Okay.
Final Fantasy VII Advent Children is coming to theaters in the U.S. at the end of February. That is February 22nd.
Yeah. Okay. I remember I saw this. It's February 22nd, I think, dubbed, and then like 23rd subbed, or something.
Sounds
like
about
that.
right. Something like that.
Like basically one day in theaters for each version of the movie. I guess that's just
21st and 22nd. Yeah.
So I guess that's to promote the new game.
Yeah, it is to Rebirth, but it'll be the first time it's ever been in theaters in the U.S., so that'll be cool.
It's been so long since I've seen Advent Children. I remember I watched it as a kid and I had no clue what was going on. I had never played Final Fantasy VII. I didn't know anything about the characters. They were always like asking like where's Mother?
Yeah, the first time I saw it, I didn't know anything either. But I've seen it at least 7 times. I know a guy who has a copy of it on Blu-ray on a hard drive somewhere in his closet.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Well, interesting. I know that I might understand it a little bit better now. I've played Final Fantasy VII Reboot, so that should tell me all I need to know, I suppose.
That's it. That's all you need to know. That's it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. It's funny you mention it because I did have a final story, and it's also related.
Oh.
Sony's releasing a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth TV.
I don't know what that means, Paul.
So, Sony Electronics and Square Enix have partnered to introduce the official gaming television for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, adding to the excitement surrounding the highly anticipated game. It's a Sony Bravia XR TV that offers features like auto HDR tone mapping and auto genre picture mode.
Does it shoot Thundaga?
I don't think it really has anything.
So what do I care? What
well,
is
sorry.
it?
Okay, here's the feature that you might be enticed by.
What's gonna?
Gamers can enjoy additional benefits with a dedicated game menu, including screen resizing, multi-view options, and customization of settings for an immersive gaming experience. So I think that the sales pitch here is that you will be able to... Okay. Additionally, players will be able to increase the brightness of dark areas and turn off variable refresh rate, reduce motion blur. But it'll also allow players to change the size and split the display screen in order to watch videos and play games at the same time. So, according to the press release, the TV will use a cognitive processor that will make the audio sound as if players are in the world of Gaia fighting alongside Cloud. Gaia?
Yeah,
what is
that's
where they are?
their planet.
Oh, okay. So the idea is that like you can be looking up like a video guide or something on YouTube and then like have like your gameplay in the corner.
That's strange.
And then like switch them like as you need like help
it
with a boss
feels like
fight
it's a
or
feature
something.
that's made for like 5% of the population.
Yeah, I mean I think that it's just probably what it really sounds like is just another Sony Bravia TV with a neat feature and they're just loosely tying it into Final Fantasy VII.
I thought
to get
it was
going
gonna be like, yeah, this TV specifically cast the game in 3D, so you can high five Cloud and Tifa will make you a drink. Now that is a Final Fantasy VII TV.
Yeah, I don't think you're getting that yet,
Well,
but
I'm disappointed.
you know, I mean, it's cool. It's just they realize that people want this game, and so maybe they can sell a few $1,000 TV.
Yeah, move a couple units, huh?
So that's just your double whammy of Final Fantasy VII news for the day.
Dope. But
Cool.
that's all I've got in stories.
Same. So it's time to take a look inside the pot
Dig in the pot, yo.
and answer more of you guys' questions. The typical reminder is that you can always submit these questions on our Google form that's linked in the show notes and video description if you are so inclined. So,
Okay. So, if you could erase one thing from Yu-Gi-Oh history, that's a deck, mechanic, format, etc., what would it be? If I could remove any
something.
one thing. It's hard to remove one thing.
Oh, so you want multiple?
Well,
What comes to mind first?
Well, I'd want to get rid of like so many combo decks. Just so many. Just
I think I would, if I had to say, I think I'd get rid of like. So this one's going to be controversial. Just hear me out. I'd get rid of pendulums. And the reason why I would get rid of pendulums has nothing to do with me personally disliking them. While I don't really play many pendulum decks, so maybe you could say I'm like too far from the matter to care and like
Right.
whatever, but like it seems like Konami actually hates them. Like they seem like they regret releasing pendulums and they're at a point now where they are actively like hampering them. Like with the new
Right.
Diabell's monster that's just a walking floodgate that invalidates the pendulum mechanic, or the fact that they like won't
ooh. Sorry, no, keep going. I just
well,
thought
the
of
fact that
mine.
they won't, like, free Electromite, anti-spell fragrance invalidates the mechanic. They, pendulum decks, just, it feels like they really struggle. And then the Master Rule 4 revision, undid all the, like, restrictions for, like, Synchro and Fusion and Xyz. But, like, pendulums are still, for whatever reason, like, tied to Link Monster
Yeah.
zones. You just really get the impression that
Now they're in the awkward space.
they just regret making them, and like they're just trying desperately to overbalance them in order to keep them from getting out of hand, and so
That's a huge change. It sounded like it wasn't huge, and it got bigger because that
So-
changes a mechanic, decks, and a format.
and I still would also say they never really like made pendulums, like they never used the numbers on the scales. Like I always thought that there was gonna be like, oh, one scale number
I
would be
thought they were
different, and like
going to,
it would matter where you place them. And they might have been planning that at some point in development, and then just decided to keep it all
Now
identical.
it kind of makes for inefficient card design.
Yeah, so maybe they wanted to just keep them all the same for simplicity, but that kind of feels unrealized potential. And then the biggest reason that caps all of it is that a lot of people quit because of pendulums. It's given like modern Yu-Gi-Oh! A bit of a rap for like, load a card text. Now that things have 2 effects, they're half monster and half spell. And I know, I understand how the mechanics work. It's not confusing for me, but for the average outsider looking in,
right,
it is something that has caused, people to look away from the game. So
gotcha. All right, you know what I remove?
What are you removing?
Inherent special summons.
Okay.
And I mean all of them. I mean everything that could count as an inherent special summon. I want to know.
So like, what happens? Like, are the cards just gone, or do you mean like the mechanic is not?
The cards are gone.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I think Yu-Gi-Oh started taking a different direction in card design when we embraced the inherent special summon. For me, I guess it started with it didn't really start, but it really kind of started with Cyber Dragon, and then we started moving into these inherent summons. When we were special summoning, for the most part they were non-inherent. We did a lot. We did fusion summons. We did these like conditional summons.
Yeah, like it was a ritual summon or something.
Yeah, not these like built-in special summons. And then you get into the extra deck. We have our Link monsters, we have our Synchro monsters, we have our Xyz monsters. And I feel like summons should have always been tied to a card of some kind.
Okay.
Like that we should have always had to activate something to let us summon. But hey, it is my choice. I get to get rid of something. I'm getting rid of inherent special summons.
No, I understand. I mean, I don't think that's something where if you tell someone that, I think people will be like, "What? That's crazy." Like, I like my inherent special summons. But I mean, it's true that they've led to a lot of kind of how crazy Yu-Gi-Oh can get now.
Because I mean,
I think that I would just like to see them maybe. Well, that's a conversation about the extra deck. So
yeah, I mean,
that's its own.
But I do think every one of our mechanics could have been done as a derivative of a fusion mechanic, where you play a card and it says, all right, 2 monsters with the same level, you smash them together to make this. 2 monsters whose level equal up to this, you smash them together, you make that.
Yeah, that's true. By making them inherent, like special summons or whatever their new term is for that, it introduced some problems. I mean, there are parts of Yu-Gi-Oh's history, though, that I do like as being inherent summons, like, the Chaos Monsters, Black Luster Soldier and stuff. Like, those feel really iconic and like a big part of Yu-Gi-Oh's history. And I think that was a period of time where I liked them because they felt like comebacks. Like, right. You had to kind of build up to it. And when someone says, okay, like, I'm removing a light and a dark, and like they summon Chaos Sorcerer, it was a moment. Whereas nowadays it can kind of just be like, well, link off 2 disparate monsters. It's kind of
gone off the rails a bit, at least from where it started.
And there's also some easy answers. Like, I would maybe get rid of like missing the timing. I don't think there's much.
That's fair.
That's just a silly mechanic. I don't think that it should really be a thing.
All right, what you got?
Okay, my question is a controversial topic. My locals is primarily poorly hygienic people that I struggle to vibe with. Does anyone else have this problem? This person also said, I remember when I wrote this card, that they posted about this on Reddit and their post got taken down. They were kind of upset about that. So, what do you do when it feels like your card shop's it stinks? And you, a showering individual.
I mean, I feel like you just gotta start calling them on that. You gotta start showing up to like locals with bars of soap and deodorant, and don't even say anything. You start handing out to people like, here you go, happy Father's Day, happy.
Well, that might make you
happy
enemy
birthday.
Number 1.
Well, I mean, you might as well be. Like, you're already ostracized because you're the only one that smells good. Like,
well, I don't think that people are ostracizing this person. I think
no,
this
their
person
smells
is
are.
Just. Well, yeah, I think this person feels like it's hard to. Yeah, I know Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments have already made the rule about like if someone's putrid and it's like distracting people, that they can actually get in trouble for that at tournaments. I think I would say speak to like a store, owner, a shop owner or whatever, because card games can. So I've tried to make a concerted effort in recent years to not, take the low-hanging fruit of just saying, oh, card game players just stink and need to take showers and like they're all, I'm trying not to joke about it, but it is true that it's an issue. And so I do feel like if it feels like it's impeding people's ability to play games, then shop owners should know about it and do something. I've been to shops that have signs than actually say like you can't, you know, like you have to like tend to your hygiene because like this is a shared social experience. And it brings me back to sort of what you were saying earlier about, you know, like when people bring their weird play mats or something to the shop, is I think that in a lot of people's eyes, for like maybe socially inept, like kind of nerds, we've all been there, and some of us are those people. You can forget that like going to the card shop is still like a public experience.
Yeah.
You know, you are not like, you're getting to play with fellow nerds and your friends who like the things you like, but that isn't an excuse not to
take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself. Like maintenance and stuff like that is still required or should be.
No, that makes sense. Like, I think, but there's always this awkwardness. No one ever wants to be that guy.
Yeah, you don't want to tell
when
anyone.
The shop has a policy for it, even the employees don't necessarily want to have to tell anyone, and they just might not. Even though they should, they just might not. And I think this guy, because more than likely they've probably talked to the shop owner. Maybe the shop owner's one of the smelly ones. I think it falls on you I think you kind of have to make us think about it. You know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, it does suck to have to like be the villain in that scenario because it feels like you're, you know, ruining the fun. But I've been to some putrid card shops. I mean, even our own local card shop. There are some days where
it's not every day.
You know, it's not like all the time. Sometimes it's fine. But like when enough people get in there, or it's the wrong crowd or whatever, I mean, you can feel the thickness in the air of just the suffocating.
Sometimes I give it a pass when like it's like a working guy and they just got off work and so to an extent I'm like, well, like he just got off work. But then there are the ones they didn't even work today.
Yeah,
they just didn't work, shower, brush, nothing.
But I mean, I guess the thing is though, it's like even the working people get. Because what if that's what this person's talking about? It
could be, yeah. If their whole shop could be people who just got off work and they've been outside all day, and that doesn't make it much better.
It's that age group. It's this because like a lot of card shops are like late 20s, early to mid, like late 30s, whatever.
I know a lot of people in their 40s.
Yeah, and in their 40s, and so like it's a very. Yeah, maybe you do have to be the person to say something.
Yeah, you just gotta.
I would say first go to the card shop owners.
Yeah, that
before
should
you
be the
like
first
make a
move.
public thing about it. But yeah, and if you are a card shop owner, which I'm sure a few listeners here are, you got to enforce that. It can make it really unpleasant.
You can start offering like little Christmas gift bags of deodorant and body spray, and
I've seen regionals handing out at least like Germex and stuff. So.
Oh, door prizes during the tournament. Hey, look, who won? You win a free stick of deodorant. Yeah,
might be a little rude, but maybe they need it. Yeah.
All right, next question. All right, we have. Oh, this is long. Do you think Yu-Gi-Oh is moving toward more main deck based archetypes, Snake Eye, Nimalaria, Valmonica, Ashen, instead of extra deck based ones?
Not really.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it just happens that there are a few close to each other, but like for the same set of decks that like you mentioned, there's also decks that
just as many that don't. I think in Yu-Gi-Oh there always has to be a balance of those things. But I think Yu-Gi-Oh is not in a good place if there's any like one is just so much more than the other.
Yeah, like because I mean I was gonna say like we're also getting Goblin Riders. That's an Xyz archetype.
Very
and, like,
Xyz.
We also have just gotten like armored Xyz and stuff like that. So I don't think there's any particular sway one way or another. Now, as for like which one I prefer, I tend to like the decks that kind of work more in the main deck than the extra deck. Mm-hmm. It feels a little bit more like, satisfies the Yugi boomer or whatever in me. But
yeah, if you're a real man, you'll beat me with your main deck.
Yeah, like I've been really enjoying like Rescue Ace and like Vanquish Soul recently, just because like they are pretty main deck centric. Because Vanquish Soul do have like a link monster, but it really doesn't.
I mean, it's
feel like one. It can't even be used as link material.
Yeah,
so I've been kind of enjoying like decks like that, but I don't think to answer the question, I don't see like a.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't see any like particular sway towards that. All right, final question. If Yu-Gi-Oh made a product similar to Pokemon ETBs, what would you want to see in them? ETBs being Elite Trainer boxes.
Oh, okay.
So,
I mean, that maybe something like like a smaller scale Rarity Collection.
Yeah, I think I mean, so if they made ETBs, because ETBs typically come out for each new Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon set. So I guess the Yu-Gi-Oh equivalent might be like an Age of Overlord or Phantom Nightmare one, where you get X amount of packs. Let's say anywhere between 8 to 10. I know ETBs give you 9.
You get some sleeves, some tokens.
Yeah, I think you should get some sleeves. A few token cards could be cool.
And they could all be themed around the set. That could be cool.
Yeah, getting token cards of different archetypes in this set would be nice. I mean, maybe even one of the mini mats. Yeah. I know that those might cost a little bit more to do, but like the half-size rubber mats could be cool, especially if they like showed archetypes from said sets. Yeah. There's like a variant factor to it.
I think that'd be really cool because we know new sets come out and Konami doesn't do a lot with that. We get a mat for the set, but that's usually like a sneak peek prize.
Yeah.
And you might see some of those archetypes pop up on like regional or YCS mats, but then that's about it.
Like, yeah, that's not very accessible to the average person because you're gonna like win those. Yeah, I mean, I think like Konami has explored these separate, like they've done each of these things separately. Like sometimes they'll have a thing that might come with sleeves, or like the Legendary Duelist like chapter 2 or whatever, like where like there's some dice. But I think they've never really done like a product where you get like all of it in there, where it's like, okay, you get sleeves, dice, a half mat, a token pack. It actually reminds me a lot of the Quarter Century Duelist box that we opened last week. We talked about it before, but like it kind of comes with a little bit of it didn't come with like sleeves,
but it had a deck box, it had cards,
it had a little card frame, which that's probably not as important,
but it's still something.
Yeah, it's just basically giving people a little.
Yeah, just giving a little bit more with your Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, a little bit more. And I think that they strike a nice balance of like maybe not being like a full box, but still being
a full
good
experience.
Value.
I like it.
Yeah, an experience. That's a good way to put it. Anyway, cool. That's
our 2 questions from the pot, which means that's the end of today's episode.
Yeah, bring the week to a close. Make sure you guys let us know what you thought of any and all of the stories that were discussed today. There's
Drop
quite
them
a lot.
in the comments or talk about it in a review. You know, a little 5-star review never hurts.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to everybody watching the live premiere on YouTube.
Shout out to everybody that are joining in our Google form to give us questions.
Yeah. Anyways, that's going to be it. We'll see you guys in the next one. Pass turn.